poor should have kids so my son's factories have workers. That is what Mae Musk, Elon's mother, stated in a Fox News interview. She also stated, you don't have to go to the movies and you don't have to go out to dinner. They don't want us having anything. They just want us to be workers. So you people who look up to billionaires like Musk and Ramaswamy and Trump, just be assured that they all think like this and they look down on you.
It was a bitterly cold morning in a small Alabama town where people live on just $300 a week. Can you imagine living on just $300 a week? I know it sounds crazy. Icy winds are coming through Florida and millions of Americans have braced themselves for yet another frigid day. But while the nation's huddled under blankets and turning up the heat, President Joe Biden, he had other plans. Plans that would ultimately spark a very heated debate across the country just before Donald Trump enters the White House. And we're hearing things of, the attack on the poor people. I mean, I've heard other people on Twitter, on X, social media platforms like TikTok, America. People are struggling to survive in one of the richest countries in the world. And it's crazy. I mean, this is what we see. People are working for minimum wage nowadays and they're trying to make ends meet and it's not working. People are saying that the working poor, the price of the American dream it's done. It's finished.
But I believe that if you are really poor, you should not be having kids.
I will never understand in my 30 years of living how people can sit up here, have no money, be struggling on their own, just taking care of themselves and decide, you know what, I'm gonna have a baby. It don't make no sense.
The American dream is now becoming a nightmare for some. And here's the worst part. Joe Biden, he's banning water heaters. So we're going to talk about this. We're going to talk about this because this is going to affect a lot of people more than you know. And this is what you need to know before you take your next shower. By the way, before we jump in, I just want to thank y'all for being here. Thanks for hitting the like button and subscribing. Appreciate y'all joining me on this live. Check this out.
Welcome back. We have breaking news this morning, a lot of it. Now this, President Biden announcing a ban on new offshore oil and gas drilling across 625 million acres of U.S. coastal territory. This happening just 2 weeks before President-elect Trump takes office. Biden is invoking the 1953 Outer Continental Shelf Lands Act.
Can you believe this, guys? It's like Kamala Harris and Joe Biden. They get together and they huddle up with, everybody's favorite KJP, Karine Jean-Pierre, and they say, hey, how can I screw up President Trump's second term in the White House? How can we do this? How can we put a last minute time bomb and attack the working class Americans? How do we attack the poor, right? I mean, the Democratic Party, we've already seen this. The Democratic Party had some of the richest donors contributing to their campaigns. Look at George Soros. Joe Biden literally just gave George Soros the Presidential Medal of Honor award just the other day. It's just crazy. The Democratic Party has done a great job at trying to lie to the people and gaslight the people and make us think that the Democratic Party has been looking out and supporting the middle class, lower income Americans, the everyday working class American from day one. And it seems like that has not been anything more than a lie.
Okay, this means that Trump would need congressional authority to reverse Biden's ban. Joining me now is American Petroleum Institute President and CEO, Mike Sommers. Mike, great to have you.
Just
Thanks
dirty.
very much for being here.
It's getting more and more interesting as presidents look at previous presidencies. Look at Joe Biden. Joe Biden's like, look, I want to make a change and I want to make sure Trump cannot undo my change. So what does Joe Biden do? Well, he makes it so that Congress has to step in and Donald Trump by himself can't just make the changes that he wants to make, even if he's president of the United States on certain issues. So it's going to get to a point where, in my opinion, somewhere down the line, we could get new presidents, but then they can't make any changes because of all the rules and regulations surrounding previous laws that previous presidents put in place, if that makes any sense to you guys.
This is incredible. Joe Biden is making all of these changes as he walks out the door. You put out a statement yesterday saying this: American voters sent a clear message in support of domestic energy development, and yet the current administration is using its final days in office to cement a record of doing everything possible to restrict it. Tell us more.
Oh, we're going to talk about this. Now, the decision that really rocked the nation, this is a move that was ultimately designed to combat climate change, if you even believe in climate change. According to Joe Biden and his administration, they just announced a sweeping ban on certain natural gas water heaters. Now, we had a water heater replaced just recently. Not only, I mean, that thing was expensive. That sucker was like almost $4,000. So if you guys have an old water heater, get ready because it ain't cheap. Anyway, so the Department of Energy's lengthy 361-page ruling, it laid out some new conservation standards. Now, according to this plan, okay, non-condensing gas water heaters popular in homes across America would be phased out starting in 2029. But instead, households would need to invest in models that use condensing technology, which these are supposed to be more efficient, but crucially, they're a lot more expensive, right? And one person on social media, I think it was on X, said rich versus poor, right? This ruling felt like another chapter in the growing divide between the haves and the have-nots, those who could afford to upgrade and those who are already counting their pennies. And so for a lot of people, the question wasn't about just saving money or saving energy, but it was about survival. Then you got towns like Alabama. I don't know where you happen to live. Comment down below where you guys are watching from, but you got towns like Alabama where some families live on just $300 a week. $300 a week, guys. And they're wondering how they could ever afford such an upgrade. It's like the Biden administration is trying to attack the working class and the poor just before leaving office. It's crazy.
Well, the American people certainly didn't vote for less energy development in the United States. In fact, energy was on the ballot during this election, and energy won. And unfortunately, these kinds of midnight regulations that are being put in place by the Biden administration are going to undermine American energy security and hurt American consumers. That's not what America voted for. And I'm calling today on the United States Congress to lift this new moratorium because it's going to harm consumers and it's going to undermine American energy security.
Well, I mean, it's just
wow. So, growing up poor in America, right? There's a woman by the name of Wanda Jenkins. She's a single mother in Birmingham. She said she grew up poor in America, and now my kids are too. Now, Wanda said that she stood by her old, reliable, tankless water heater, right? She said that this thing has been in her house since she bought the place. Now, a lot of people, they buy a house, maybe they're renting or whatever. They get a house and whatever's in there, they keep it. They don't go in and replace everything. That's very expensive, right? So she said that this thing's been here since she bought the place. She's terrified. She said she's terrified of what'll happen if the water heater breaks. They're saying I'll have to spend 3 times as much to replace it. And I don't know if this sounds like a similar situation, but apparently Wanda's not alone. Across the South and the Midwest, where tankless water heaters are pretty popular in small homes and apartments, this announcement that Joe Biden has just set out is sending shockwaves across the country.
Unbelievable. Liz Peek, jump in here because this administration is completely ignoring what the people just voted for as they put these new rules in as they're walking out the door. Now Trump is going to need congressional approval.
Yeah, and this is ridiculous, Maria. And as Mike has very succinctly said, American voted for more energy development, not less. Mike, my question to you is, does the Congressional Review Act supersede this elimination of acreage? And also, I've not seen anybody talk about what kind of acreage is this? I mean, is this do we have a lot of reserves stored in this offshore acreage, or is this sort of marginal? What's your take on that? Is this important,
Congress,
in other words, or is it just play acting by Biden?
Now, President Joe Biden, of course, of course, Joe Biden, he defended the move. He's basically citing the urgent need to cut back on carbon emissions. According to Joe Biden, he said, we cannot ignore the impact of climate change. His words, not mine, guys. Is climate change real? I mean, global warming. I mean, I was just outside. It's like 20 degrees outside. It's kind of hard to convince me that global warming is really happening. But yet you got critics like Matthew Agin. He's the chief counsel for American Gas Association. He pushed back against President Joe Biden. He said that this move will force low income and senior customers to pay far more upfront. It's deeply concerning. OK, and he's pointing out that the tankless water heaters were a lifeline for a lot of the elderly Americans who are on fixed incomes like Social Security, SSI and SSDI. And so, I mean, then you got headlines, like Alabama towns where people live on $300 weekly really kind of resonate with folks who are just living on that little amount of money. Some people only get like $1,200 a month. That's $300 a week, right? And so in a nation where millions of people, they're working tirelessly just to try to stay afloat, then you got Joe Biden pushing through these bills that are nothing more than an attack on the working class American, on the poor. These bills are an attack on the poor, right? And so the working poor are already famous. They're facing like these insurmountable hurdles as it is. You got gas prices, food prices going on, constantly going up. And then Joe Biden says, hey, let me make people have to run out there and buy a new run out there and buy a new water heater. Really? Really, Joe? Well, I mean, I don't know if Joe Biden would really understand, since his son Hunter Biden gets, millions of dollars through all his fake companies for having his dad be president and, leveraging his dad's clout here in the United States as the president of the United States. So when you have to work for your money, I think it's kind of hard for people like Joe Biden to really understand. And I think this is why 77 million Americans voted for Donald Trump, though, in all honesty, because energy was a big deal. Inflation is a big deal, right? So Harper even went on to note that while the affluent homeowners can easily make the switch, there's some low income families that are facing the real possibility of going without. Can you imagine, like, once they say, hey, we're not even going to allow gas water heaters to be sold. And so it's either you get this more expensive water heater that's like 3 times, it's like 300% more expensive, or you take ice cold showers when it's 20 degrees outside. Just completely insensitive to the poor.
Congress has a number of different options that they could pursue. The Congressional Review Act is certainly one of them, but they could also pursue this through the reconciliation procedures, because the royalties that would be gained in the offshore from developing these resources, because they are federal resources, would be tremendous. In fact, just if we were to have a robust leasing plan in the Gulf of Mexico, that would score about $8 billion for the American people that they could put towards other priorities, like funding the border, for example. So if we just put a robust leasing plan, not just in the Gulf of Mexico, but in other parts of the offshore, we could have tremendous resources to continue to cut taxes for the American people or to do big things. And so we have an opportunity here to reverse this in the first few days of Congress. And I think Congress needs to get on this and make sure that it is a top priority for them in the early days of this Congress. But they have a couple. Wow.
So and then, of course, the plot thickens, right? So we got reports emerging that even, check this out. You guys may or may not believe this, but reports are coming out that older water heaters, once they're discarded, once people throw them away, they're now being hoarded. People are preparing for the worst now, right? And an underground market of secondhand, non-condensing water heater units began to grow, with some units selling for double their original price, right? So they're being pushed into a corner. People are getting pushed into a corner. Right. So, if they're going to take away our choices, then we'll find our own way, is what people are basically saying here. Right. And so the irony here is, Biden's well-meaning policy well-meaning, right? Aimed at reducing emissions and addressing the whole climate change, global warming epidemic. It's creating a shadow inventory that's basically thriving on keeping outdated, less efficient technology alive. And of course, the debate goes on and on and on about this thing, right? And so one thing is very clear, I think, right? This isn't just about water heaters. It's about the broader divide in America, the tension between the rich versus the poor, and the daily struggle of those who are living paycheck to paycheck. I mean, for a lot of people, the story is a reminder of what it feels like to grow up poor in America, always wondering what new obstacle is going to pop up next, even when all you want to do is just take a hot shower. It's crazy.
A couple of different options. And I know that we can continue to find resources in the offshore. It represents about 14% of American oil and gas production now. We need to pursue these opportunities, and quickly.
Yeah, I mean, the Biden administration is also banning certain natural gas water heaters from the market. This is a move that critics say will drive energy prices higher. Certainly for low-income and senior households, the move would make non-condensing natural gas-fired water heaters off shelves, take them off shelves by 2029 in a bid, he claims, to reduce carbon dioxide emissions. Mike, I want to get your reaction on that, but also, what about the executive order?
How is this helping the average American, guys? The average American is dealing with record car payments, record credit card interest rates. I was reading somewhere that the average new car payment is like $750 a month. The average used car payment is like $557 per month. It's crazy. It's crazy. Rent prices are higher than they've ever been. Mortgage rates are still high.
Orders. I mean, we're going to have lots of executive orders. I mean, I'm hearing at least 20 executive orders, maybe more, maybe many more in his first day in 2 weeks, January 20th. Can he do a lot of moving the needle on energy permitting through executive order?
Well,
Trump's going to be signing left and right.
This new natural gas water heater ban is a regressive tax on the American people. It's going to hurt the most vulnerable among us. That's what's so sad about this, that it is people who can least afford it that are going to have to pay the most for these new water heaters that they're going to have to install and retrofit into their places where they live. This is a sad day, I think, because it really is it's the poor that are going to be affected most by this ban. On day one, we've actually put forward a plan for President Trump on the day one activities that he should pursue. It's in the API 5-point policy roadmap that we laid out a few months ago. We've built that out in preparation for President Trump. You can find it on api.org. It includes lifting the LNG ban that the Biden administration put in place. It includes repealing the EV mandates that the Biden administration put in place. And, of course, robust permitting to get things actually built in this country, particularly our critical energy infrastructure.
Yeah, it's a great point all around, Mike.
Donald Trump's going to be coming in guns a-blazing, y'all. I mean, I can see Trump just coming in, probably working a 20-hour day on day one, just signing these executive orders left and right, trying to get these new policies put through. But what do y'all think? Hey, you guys just now joining live. I just want to say appreciate y'all being here. Don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. But what do y'all think about this? Like, this is crazy. Like, this is a regressive tax on Americans, not just the poor. Anybody who is forced to buy something that they ordinarily wouldn't buy is a regressive tax on America. I mean, this is part of the greatest wealth transfer that we've seen. I mean, and the swamp is still trying to make this happen. The swamp is trying to make it happen. Anyway, guys, if you haven't already, definitely hit the like button, subscribe to the channel. I got a lot more content for you. Check out these videos coming up here next, guys, and we'll see you on the next one.